There's a common experience I hear about all the time from crochet designers. You're scrolling, watching someone else's launch, seeing a designer talk about real traction, real numbers, and real growth. And instead of feeling inspired, you get this tight feeling in your chest. Have you experienced that? Because when you see other people succeeding in the areas that you want to succeed, you know it's possible. Other people are doing it. They're making real money. They're building businesses that actually move. And that's when the questions start turning inward. Why does it look so hard for me? What am I missing? Am I just not smart enough, talented enough, strategic enough? You don't doubt the model anymore. You doubt yourself. And that doubt gets heavier when you're working all the time, designing, posting, selling, and still not seeing the kind of traction that you know is possible. Welcome to Crochet Business Chat. My name is Pam Grice, the Crochetpreneur, and I'm on a mission to help 100,000 makers build financial freedom through crochet. And today we're talking about 5 strategies real crochet designers use to reach 6 figures a year. And before we go too much further, I just want to name something clearly. The thing holding back most designers from getting to this stage is not a lack of talent. It is not a lack of intelligence. It's not a lack of potential. It's how they're trying to do everything at once. So today I'm going to be talking about strategies that I've seen from people that I'm working with personally that have made $100,000 a year as a crochet designer. Now, not everyone has gone about this the same way. So I'm not talking about a formulaic approach to business. I'm talking about strategies that are actually working that you can implement in your own business. Not every single $100,000 crochet business owner has used these strategies. So I'm just talking about things that I've seen. So again, this isn't a formula. This is just talking about strategy with you. And someone had asked me when I invited them to this video, someone had said, are you talking about $100,000 sales or $100,000 profits? And I think the question itself is a sort of defense mechanism. But that aside, when I wrote this, I was focused solely on $100,000 in sales per year because a lot of people make that their goal in their business. Managing the expenses, to figure out your net revenue is your job as a business owner. Thankfully, as a designer, expenses are not that major. Like you're not spending a lot of money in inventory. A lot of times the yarn is given to you by yarn manufacturers and such. So there's not a lot of expenses involved. Most of it will be your tech. That's an expense. And so the great thing about getting to $100,000 as a designer is that most of that, not just most, the vast majority of that, 80 to 90% of that is profit. So I just wanted to get that out of the way so you know where I'm coming from and what we're talking about. And what I told this person is if you can figure out how to make $100,000 in sales in your crochet design business, you know how to make $100,000 in gross revenue or in net profits in your design business. So it's all the same skill. It's just about continuing to scale. So here's what's actually, now we're going to get into this teaching. So here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. When you start a crochet business, a design business, you have to do all the things. So I'm not talking about like, we're not doing all the things. We are doing all the things. It is the nature of the game. So you have to design, you have to sell, you have to market. There's no skipping that. And honestly, that alone feels like a lot. But where growth starts to break down is when designers try to operate at a high level in all 3 areas. I'm so sorry that my microphone was in the wrong place. I hope that you heard me. I'm going to have to leave myself a note to move my microphone over before we do a podcast. So, anyway, thanks for your patience in that. So the sound is good now. All right. I'm going to go check the comments just in case. Okay, perfect. Let me get back to my notes. All right. So all of this feels like a lot, but where growth starts to break down is when designers try to operate at a high level in all three areas, design, sales, and marketing, before they've gotten truly good at any one of them. That's when the hamster wheel shows up. I was thinking yesterday, I need to create an image of a crochet designer on a hamster wheel, crocheting away and running, because sometimes that's what it feels like as a small business owner. You're selling in multiple places, but you don't really understand how sales work in any of them. You're posting on every platform, often sharing the same content everywhere, hoping something catches. You're constantly creating new designs while older ones quietly stop getting seen or selling. So the business stays busy. Sometimes we feel like busy is success, but it's not. When you're busy without strategy, traction stays shallow. And because you see other designers gaining momentum, the story your brain tells you is they must be better than me. But that's not it. What's actually sabotaging growth is that your energy is spread across too many strategies too early, without giving any single part of the business the time and focus it needs to mature. Six-figure designers don't avoid the work, they sequence it. They get good at key parts of the process one layer at a time and let that mastery compound. So, the first thing they do is one that almost everyone resists at first. Six-figure crochet designers choose one primary revenue method and get really good at it. Not 3, not 5, 1. That might be selling patterns, right? It might be giving patterns away for free and making revenue from ads on a blog. Or it might be ad revenue from YouTube. So starting a YouTube channel, getting really good at it, growing your audience, and making revenue there. They don't choose to focus on all things right from the start. They choose one they're willing to commit to long enough to master it, because every revenue model has a lag. Patterns take time to build a catalog, blogs take time to rank, YouTube take time to grow an audience. Instead of trying to generate revenue everywhere at once, they ask, where am I going to start generating revenue and learning about my customer? They study what strategies drive traffic, what copy converts, what content gets the most attention. What is actually working to create revenue? That depth of understanding is what creates stability. But most people quit right before momentum would have kicked in because they're splitting their energy. Six-figure designers let one lane carry the business first. Everything else comes later. So if you are first starting your business, you hear about, like, you see people, a lot of times this is what I get most of the time. I want to be the next TL Yarn Crafts. This is what I hear all day long. I want to be the next TL Yarn Crafts. Okay, great. We all love Tony. She's amazing. And right now, you see her everywhere, right? She's doing speaking engagements. She's doing teaching engagements. She's got her YouTube channel. She's got her website. She's on social media, right? So you say, okay, if I want to be the next Tony, I need to do all the things that she's doing. And you put your feet in every bucket. Is that a thing? You put all your eggs in every basket. I guess, I don't know. But you try to do all the things without actually knowing why you're doing it, right? You're just mimicking someone else's strategy without saying, wait, how did she start? Where did she start? How did she get to be who she is? And honestly, I would love for people to stop saying, I want to be the next XYZ person, because you need to be the next best you. and stop focusing on trying to become what someone else is and really focusing on your strategy, your lane, what you are good at. So permission to let go of that and focus on you. Okay. And as you do, start in one place and get really good at it. So that's the first piece. The second piece is add one step at a time. So the second strategy builds directly on the first, and this is where most designers quietly sabotage their own growth. Six-figure crochet designers don't add everything at once. Yes, you do need to design, sell, and market, but not in all of the places all at once. That split focus will drag you down. Instead, focus one step at a time. That's an important distinction because when people hear add another thing, they often think, great, now I have to do more work. But what's actually happening is the opposite. So instead of trying to sell on multiple platforms, show up everywhere online, and market every design in every place, six-figure designers decide where their attention goes first. They ask, what's the next piece of this business that I need to understand deeply, right? So they've taken their one revenue stream, figured it out, right? They dove deep into how they're going to sell this thing, right? How to design the thing, how to sell the thing, how to market the thing, the one thing, whether it's patterns or blogging or YouTube or something else. So rather than adding multiple revenue streams right from the start, they focus on one sales channel. So before we talked about one revenue stream, now we're talking about one sales channel. They become excellent at selling in one place before expanding. Not perfect, not optimized forever, but understanding how sales actually happen. So they learn how customers find them on that channel, what messaging leads to a purchase, and which designs keep selling without constant promotion. Instead of selling a little bit everywhere, they build momentum in one channel, and that knowledge becomes transferable later. So, for example, you're deciding, am I going to start on Shopify? Am I going to start on my website and make sales on my website? Am I going to start selling on Etsy? Am I going to start selling on Amazon Handmade or Tidu or someplace else, right? So figuring out let's just say you start on Etsy. How do I get really good at Etsy? How do I understand how Etsy works? How do I leverage all of the tools I can to make the most sales on Etsy, right? I need to get good at photography. I need to understand SEO. I need to understand copy so that my descriptions drive those conversions, right? All of those things work together to make you really good at selling on Etsy. And the things you learn there, while not 100% transferable, will give you some insight into how to do the same thing on the next platform that you add. But right now you're focusing on one. So once sales in that one place start to feel predictable, you shift focus again, not to do more, but to get strategic about visibility. All right. So then you choose one marketing platform and learn how to get seen there. They stop posting the same content everywhere out of some sort of obligation or desperation, if we're being honest. They stop chasing trends across 5 platforms. Instead, they learn what content performs on their chosen platform. So let's say you choose Instagram. What content reaches your desired audience on that platform? How often do they need to show up? What are your peak posting times? When is your audience active on the platform? How can older content continue bringing traffic to your products? This is where something really important changes. Marketing stops being reactive. Existing content doesn't expire immediately anymore. It starts working for them. And only after sales and visibility are working together do they consider adding on another layer. And at that point, adding something new isn't chaotic. It's supportive of what's already working. They're not building from scratch every time. They're layering onto something that's already working. That's the difference. Six-figure designers didn't get there by jumping in and doing all the things in all the places. They're doing the right things in the right order and letting each piece strengthen the next instead of competing for attention. And they're doing it with patience. And if there's anything I can say that will help the most, it's to be patient. There's almost no designers that got famous overnight, right? Everyone started small and continue to grow and grow and grow and analyze what's working and then do something different. And you can't analyze what's working if you're spreading all of your attention in all of the places. So I really suggest one income stream, one sales platform, one social media outlet to focus on. If you want to share the same content to Facebook, go ahead and do that. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We're not focusing on Facebook. We're focusing on Instagram. You're creating content for your Instagram audience. Okay. And then once you get really good at that, you can say, okay, now how can I focus my attention on Facebook and get the same kind of traction there? But that's after you get really good at the one place. So I hope that makes sense. I need to take another drink. Okay. The next thing is evergreen marketing. So the third strategy is one that changes everything for stability. Six-figure designers don't rely on constant live posting to make sales. They build evergreen marketing systems. So this could be recurring social media content that continues to circulate. It could be an email sequence that sells while you sleep. It could be content that works in the background so that you can take a break. It could be Pinterest smart loops using Tailwind, content that just continues to post while you're sleeping. So this doesn't mean you never show up live. It means your business isn't fragile. If you get sick, if you take time off, you simply need space to create, the business keeps moving. So that's not laziness. That's what leadership looks like in your business. It's figuring out how to get your business to continue doing its job while you're resting. Gives you space to take vacations, to, go on field trips with your kids, to do the things that you need to do. So some tools that I use to create evergreen systems in my own business and that my clients are using as well is I use Metricool Metricool, which I will link in the description. I realized I didn't link it there. Metricool is a social media content posting platform, and it does have the option to loop recurring posts. So you can set up posts to post, a whole bunch of posts in order, spaced out on different days. And then when it gets to the end of that content, it starts over again so that your old content continues to stay in front of your audience. So let's say you have 100 designs, you can post it, or you can have it post 2 social media posts a day with your old designs and then loop. And so, or let's say you have 60, let's say you have 120 designs. And so it posts for 2 months and then it starts over again from the beginning and it posts 2 times a day and it continues to keep your older content in front of your existing audience. And then as you create new designs, you add them to that recurring loop. So Metricool makes that possible. Also, if you use Tailwind, the Smart Loop will do that for Pinterest. Smart Loop will post to Pinterest your whole series of pins. I have like 1,300 pins in my Smart Loop, and it will just continue to post those on a particular schedule and just take care of that marketing for you so that you don't have to constantly be on that marketing hamster wheel. Another thing you can do is evergreen email sequences. So when someone comes into your email list and then they get their welcome sequence, they then go over into an evergreen sequence that starts to market your old designs, roundups of your designs, other sorts of promotions for the long term. So I know I have, I believe it is 16 weeks. Well, no, I have 80 emails set up so that It sends out one email a week. So I have 80 weeks worth of content, and it will just loop that as people go through that email sequence. And it shows people my old emails that take them to old blog posts or blog post roundups or new roundups or pattern bundles or special promotions that I set up. So you just set that up in your email service provider so that you send out one email a week as your newsletter and then another email a week as your evergreen email sequence. People get 2 emails a week from you, and they're each high value content. One is current content and one is that existing evergreen content. And then another way that you can get evergreen content out there is simply using ads. So you could set up ads on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Google, Pinterest, all of the places, however you want to do it, and get your products in front of new people that maybe hadn't seen you before. So it all depends on what you want to do for your business. Okay. So evergreen marketing systems is strategy number 3. Okay, strategy number 4 is creating a series from existing designs. So this strategy is one of my favorites because it's so deceptively simple. And I'm grateful I was able to incorporate this strategy from the very beginning of my own design business. So as soon as I started designing, I said, hey, I've already gotten the instructions written up for this stitch sequence. I'm going to use this stitch sequence in another product that coordinates or a totally different product. So, for example, you might make a washcloth that becomes a scarf that becomes a blanket, right? All of those are the same stitch pattern, just, written in a different way. Or a hat could become a coordinating scarf, could become a coordinating cowl, could become coordinating gloves, could become coordinating boot cuffs, could become coordinating leg warmers or slippers or whatever, right? The options are endless. So taking something that you've taken the time to create and then expanding that product line with that same stitch is going to give you endless amounts of content. So 6-figure designers don't reinvent the wheel every single time. They create a series with existing designs. One stitch combination, one construction method, one aesthetic, and they build multiple patterns from it. So from the outside, they look super prolific, like, oh my gosh, they must be so busy. But from the inside, it's just an efficient way to do business. This is how you scale without exhausting your creativity. So things that you can do with these new series of designs is you can create an ebook featuring that stitch pattern. You could create different bundles of things that go together from that stitch pattern. You could have a home decor in that stitch pattern. You could have fashion accessories in that stitch pattern. You could have little Ami dudes in that stitch pattern, right? So now you're creating all of this content out of one single idea rather than I have to have a creative idea now. Now I have to have a totally different creative idea. Now I have to have a totally different creative idea. You could pick one stitch and leverage it the entire year. So in that way, it just makes things easier for you. So early in my own journey, I thought diversification meant safety. The more places I am, the more places I show up, the more things I'm selling, the better. That's what I thought. But, I figured if one thing didn't work, something else would work. But what actually happened was dilution. My energy, my focus, everything was diluted. Not enough. Nothing got enough attention to truly grow. And I see this pattern all the time with designers who are incredibly talented, but constantly questioning themselves. Once I committed to simplifying, not shrinking, but focusing, everything shifted. Not overnight, but steadily. Revenue started to grow, and so did confidence. And that's what I want for you, is to take action. The more action you take, scary action, action out of courage, the more you will grow in confidence. Which leads us to our last strategy, which is getting in the right room. So this fifth strategy is one of the one that often makes the biggest difference, and it's the least talked about. When I first came into the industry, okay, so I'm just a natural outsider. So I'm just going to own that myself. So I have an independence problem. I'm a lone wolf, and I think that hurt me in the beginning. But I knew that there were groups of designers out there who were quietly supporting one another, who were sharing strategies together. And sometimes those were exclusionary groups, and sometimes they were just groups of friends that got together and were helping one another. But what I realized is that the most successful designers get in the right room, right? They're not lone wolves. Even if they're introverts like me, they still get together with a group of people who's going in the same direction they are. They don't try to figure out everything alone. They put themselves around other business owners who think strategically, not emotionally, who normalize growth, who see revenue as information to help make better decisions, and who make calm decisions instead of reactive ones, because proximity changes perspective. They say that you will become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you start spending time with people who are headed in the direction that you want to go, you will head in that same direction just naturally. So a perspective, that shift in perspective changes behavior. So you'll start to operate as someone who is on that success path because you are with people who are doing the same. Now, in the beginning, like I said, I knew there were these places happening, right? These groups of people happening. But I didn't want to ask to be a part of that. I wanted to be invited. And so I wasn't part of those until I found a mastermind. It was outside the crochet world. It was in the blogging world, but I did find a mastermind of people who were sort of like-minded as me. And masterminds are brilliant. They really do work, not because people are sharing secrets, but because of the shared environment and the shared momentum. It really is a mindset of people who are willing to be in a mastermind are people who are going to take action. For me, that really entailed understanding what's working for people, what it takes to be successful, and then having the accountability of saying, like, this is what I'm working on, and then coming back next week and saying, yes or no, did I do it? And that was really helpful. And a lot of people will attempt to do this in groups of peers. And a lot of times those groups end up being competitive or being catty and focusing more on gossiping or more on shared venting sessions rather than shared momentum sessions, which I feel like a mentored mastermind or having a coach with you is really, really important. And that was really important for me. So I just wanted to share that because I'm going to share something more in a little second. So when you look at all of these 5 strategies together, a pattern emerges. 6-figure crochet designers don't hustle harder. They move differently in the world. They choose depth. They choose systems. They choose support. And when something feels hard, they don't assume it's a personal failing. They ask better questions and they make a shift. If you're listening to this and thinking, I really want to stop guessing my way through this thing, or I want to build my business the right way. I'm already making $10,000 a year, but I want to get to that 100K place, or even I want to get to that 50K place or that 60K place, but I want to do it the right way. Or you're thinking, I like the idea of being in the room where high-level thinking is happening, where high-level thinking and high-level action taking is the norm. So that's why I created the Catalyst Collective. So the Catalyst Collective is a mastermind specifically for crochet designers who are ready to think like CEOs. It's not about hustling harder. It's about building something sustainable, profitable, and aligned that moves you toward your vision of success. If you're interested in hearing more about this, I'm not going to turn this into a sales pitch, but if you're interested in learning about what it would look like to be part of a crochet designer mastermind, a group that meets weekly for 90 minutes to break down what's going on in your business. Who are you trying to become? What actions are you taking to get there? How can we support you? How can we brainstorm ideas for you to get where you want to go? And then support you as you make those things happen. If that feels like, yes, that's what I need, you can learn more about that at crochetpreneur.com/catalyst.collective. The link is in the description. Or you can hop on the invitation list for an upcoming information session. So I do have a link down in the description for an info session that I'll be hosting later this week on Zoom with some of our current Catalyst members and people who are interested, so we can answer any questions you have. It is a significant investment, so I'm not going to pretend, that it's not. It is. But it's worth it. And I would love to have anyone who's already built your crochet design business. It's making some money. You feel good about where you've come from and where you're at right now, but there's so much more potential for your business to get to the 50, 60, 100K a year revenue. Come show up to that call, and I will get on the list. And I'll send out an email once I talk to my mastermind members to see what day they can all get together. So whether you join us or not, my hope is this, that you give yourself permission to simplify, to commit, and to build this business in a way that actually supports the life that you want. That's the most important piece. So I would love to know if you have questions. For those of you who are here live, I'm going to check your questions in the comments and we'll chat. Let me just get this thing off my screen. Come over to comments. I need a sip. Okay. Hey, Sarah from Pueblo. How are you? I watched the sun rise over your city this morning. I'm way up on a hill and I overlook Pueblo West. So I get to see the sunrise every morning. All right. Toronto is snowy. Quebec City. Hello, hello. The UK is here. I'm not anywhere near this yet, but I'm interested, I think, to see the strategy for future dreams. Yes. Good morning from California. My life and business has been changing a lot since I took your advice in the end and hired a VA 2 months ago. Yay! I'm so glad. I'm glad to hear that. All right. I opened my Etsy store in December and I've set it up pretty good, but so far not a single sale. I'm still tweaking and learning, but darn, it's like Etsy is working against the sellers sometimes. Okay. What I want to say is, if you're hanging around with people who are saying Etsy is working against the sellers, get out of those groups. Because as long as you feel like Etsy's the enemy, you are not going to do well there. So let's get rid of that. I mean, they're not great. I mean, they have their issues, but I want you to focus on Etsy exists to get me sales. Etsy exists to get me sales. Etsy exists to get me sales. All right. And if your shop is set up pretty good, I want you to get your shop set up properly. I want you to ensure that all your photographs are awesome and light and bright and they feature your products without distracting from it. I want you to make sure your titles, tags, keywords are all in line, that your copy is speaking to the emotion of your audience and your descriptions are giving them a reason to buy, that your pricing is set up so that you make profit, but it's also reaching the market of customer that you want. If you're using a program like Marmalade or eRank, you can see how you can tweak things in your shop to get more views. My goal for you as a small business owner is to get at least 100 views a day. The typical conversion rate on Etsy is 2%. Okay, so 2% of people who view your shop will make a purchase. So we got to get 100 people to your shop so that you can make 2 sales. So what do we need to do to get that to happen? Well, at first, you need to drive some traffic. Etsy will do it for you as well once you get your SEO all lined up. But you might get views, but no conversions because of multiple reasons. It could be nobody wants what you're selling. That's not always great. That's actually not great. Or your photos aren't doing you any favors, or your copy is not compelling enough to convert sales. So there's a lot of things that you can look at if you've been there. Well, you said you started in December. It is February right now. So it does take some time to get seen. Your first sale may take a month or 2 months or 3 months, but once you figure out what's going to sell, it'll start rolling in the right direction for you. So stick around here, follow other Etsy coaches, and make sure it's not just pretty good, but it's excellent. Okay. Make sure you have your banner, make sure you have your about section, make sure you tell people who you are, make sure your photo is on there, tell the story about your shop. Why do you serve the customers that you serve? Why should they buy from you? What makes you different? All of those things are really important. Okay, but congratulations on getting your shop open. I'm sure that as you continue to work on it, you'll start attracting folks. Kathy said, patience is definitely needed in this business. Yes, it is. What is the platform that works better for you? If you're talking about sales, my best platform is Etsy. That's where I sell the most. I also sell on Ravelry and other places at this point, but Etsy's my top selling place. Sarah said I'm bad with the lone wolf thing. Yeah. You're in Colorado. How cool. I'm in Colorado Springs. Hi, Ashley. I am in Penrose, so I am just south of you. Etsy's really hard. I've only made a couple sales in a year. Thinking of trying Shopify, not sure yet. Okay, I don't recommend going to your own shop. If you're not able to drive sales to Etsy to make a purchase, starting a Shopify shop is not going to make it any easier because you're going to have to drive even more traffic. So figure out how to drive traffic to your Etsy shop, figure out how that works. And once that is rolling, then go start Shopify. If you leave Etsy and go start Shopify now, you're starting over 100% from scratch because you still don't know what works. And so it's better to know what works and then start your own place because you already have sort of developed an audience. But if you just jump one ship that's sinking onto another ship, that ship's going to sink too. You got to figure out how to save the first ship. That's funny. Etsy has its problem, but it does work well enough. My Etsy shop is secondary, so as long as it earns enough to pay for itself, I'm happy. I'm putting my focus in other places now. Cool, Dawn. Or Sarah. Can you give some suggestions on how to overcome video editing? I'm struggling with perfectionism in this, and it is shutting me down. I think I probably just need to get over myself. I have this problem too, and what I did, I know that if I am creating a video that I'm going to edit, I'm never going to do it. And so that's why I do lives. So I do live videos because otherwise I'm going to avoid it because it's just too much. And so you might consider just recording your tutorials, if that's what you're doing, recording them live and calling it good enough. It might work for you. That's what works for me. And because I have a time set up, I have to show up. So you could set up a time with your audience and say, hey, I have a new pattern. We're going to record the video together on a live and then do a live stream of recording the tutorial and just post it. Otherwise, you have to act as your own boss and say, knock it off and get it done. So those are sort of the two strategies that I use. Either I do it live because I have to force myself to do it, or I tell myself I have to get over it and I force myself to do it. So those are the strategies that work for me. I find it fascinating that you do better on Etsy over Ravelry. My best traffic source right now is Ravelry. Yeah, it really depends on your audience. So my audience is typically product sellers. They're not typically sophisticated crocheters. They're looking for quick projects that they can sell for profitably. So they're usually on Etsy. The more sophisticated makers, and I don't use that word sophisticated as a judgment. I'm just saying like people who use fancier yarns, people who look for more complex patterns, they're going to be more likely to be on Ravelry than on Etsy. So I think it really depends on your design style, which one's going to work better for you. How many designs do you suggest starting with? 1. That's all you need. You just need a design, get it out there, then work on your next design. The first design will help you understand what the process looks like. And every time you launch a new design, you learn something new. So start with one and start rolling from there. Okay, so I was asking about the best platform to make people know you. Okay, so the best social media platform for me, I mean, I have the most followers on Facebook, and Facebook is starting, now that they just had an algorithm update, is starting to show posts more and more often. So it used to be, it was Instagram, but I think right now my best platform is Facebook, because if you post multiple times a day, Facebook is really encouraging you to post multiple times a day. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to, I don't know, like I'm just posting my thoughts of like, oh my gosh, Kevin just did XYZ and that reminded me that business is whatever. Or just sharing like, hey, I was thinking about designing something. Should I use this color or this color? What do you guys think? Right? Get your audience engaged. And Facebook is really liking that right now. So, but your audience is going to respond to you wherever they exist. So knowing who your audience is and where they're at is going to be really helpful. Right now, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok are all really great for crochet content, as well as YouTube. And figuring out which one you want to start focusing on and get really good at it. Let's see. Y'all are speaking in French. I took 7 years of French classes and it's gone because I learned German and the French went out the window, and then I learned Portuguese and the German went out the window. So I'm not great with languages anymore. But I love that you guys are talking to each other. It's great to not feel alone, especially when you're speaking a different language and you feel like everyone else is, got their own thing going on. So thank you, Sarah. Okay. I don't see any more questions, so I am going to let you all go. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments if you're watching this on replay. And then also, if you haven't already subscribed, I set a goal for January to reach 14,000 subscribers. We missed it by about 40. So no giveaway this month. But as soon as we do reach 14,000, I will have a giveaway of some new merch that I've been designing just for crochet business owners. So I have some really cute things I think you're going to love. And we'll have some giveaways. So if you haven't subscribed, do that now and invite your friends. And be sure to like this video. That does a lot for the algorithm to tell YouTube that people are interested in this, and it will show it to other people just like you. So thank you all for being here for another episode of Crochet Business Chat Podcast. I'll be back next week with a new video. I hope to see those of you who are interested on our informational call for Catalyst Collective. All right, I'll talk to y'all next week. Bye.